История человечества.
Shut it. The history of humanity is written in tears and blood. Liars, tyrants, idealists, they all tried to bring happiness on the edge of a sword. We waited for liberation from the shackles of fate and were ready to go through the last judgment for it. Not for the glorious death for the eternal kingdom, love, or the Lord, but for a way to step off the path of suffering. But when the apocalypse came, we shrugged our shoulders and started profiting from it as usual. The creatures lurking in the depths of space didn't seem scarier than our own world. Armed with the hope that the darkest hour comes before dawn, we try to survive until the first rays of the sun. Jane wakes her boss, me, from diapause and refreshes my memory. Thankfully, no one knows how our last mission on Venus went, cause we awakened this friendly-looking guy. His name's Tezcatlan, or however that's pronounced, and he's an ancient Quasimorph who wants to take over the solar system and all other Brahmapaturas. Now we're orbiting Phobos, low on supplies, and being attacked by civil resistance. This brings us to the tutorial, where Jane teaches Francis Reed Daly, aka Shrike, the basic controls, healing, and combat as we fight off the civil resistance forces attacking us. In between Frank's skills and the fact several coal nodes run straight at a turret that's behind cover, we managed to fight them off without much trouble. I drop off the loot and get a message from Frank. He wants to get revenge on civil resistance. And while I'm not super enthused at the idea of doing that, we will get an opportunity to rob a bunch of terrorists, so sure. During mission prep, I pick Victoria Boudica and give her the Scouts of Hades class. A good generalist pick, with a mix of perks providing both survivability and offense. I give her a pistol, some bullets, and that's about it. We'll be taking the rest of our gear from the enemy. Like this. We find the stairs early on and see a terminal from some civil resistance bloke named Isahar about how media conglomerate Ancom is shady and that he wants to investigate despite the risks. One thing I'll point out now, enemies, especially low-level ones like these, are very susceptible to being lured around corners and killed. And eventually I wander until I run into a turret and decide, maybe let's actually do the mission now. Just after the stairs is a message to Isahar from Leah, presumably his handler. Leah thinks Isahar's decisions might be bad ones, costing many coal nodes and gaining little progress. Many dead coal nodes later, there's a journal entry. Isahar's espionage isn't going well and he admits that if things go bad, he won't be taken alive. And just to the east of the stairs is the armory, complete with a grenade launcher that I don't pick up. And to the south is another terminal. Leah's unhappy at Isahar's waste of coal nodes, and does imply they might be messing up his personality somehow? Anyway, we descend the stairs to find 2 coal nodes already waiting for us. And besides the Brigadier in the server room, that's about all the resistance we meet. Boudica walks out with as much loot as she can carry, and only an empty stomach is an injury. Besides repairs and robbery, our raid on Rogue City also netted us a PCPU database belonging to ANCOM. A lot of the data there is about Quasimorphosis research. We've kept a copy, but of course, we can sell the data to ANCOM. Jane does suggest we can sell it to other people, but that would piss them off, and ANCOM can be fierce enemies. So we just head to Reba's Sky City on Mars. Now, as a gang of violent marauders, we can't simply conduct open, on-the-books trade with Dignitas. We can, however, still barter. The prices may be extortionate, but it's a good way to get things without having to loot them on missions. If we get in good with a faction, we might be able to conduct business on more official terms. But for now, we just exchange the data for a few pieces of kit, including an item chip to craft the hobo vest. And from there, well, after Tet's clan made his announcement, the system descended into a bit of a chaotic mess. Stations change hands almost daily. Tet's clan is now fighting on Venus, and Civil Resistance is active on Mars. With all that going on, the need for our services will only continue to rise, and it's up to us to choose our clients. We can do whatever we want. Help expand the Emerald Empire, maintain a violent status quo for long-term profits, or even try to take down Tet's clan and save humanity from having to pronounce his fucking name. But before we can realize any of these goals, we first need to build up our power, and that means taking jobs from whoever we can. The latest update lets us choose which of two sides we want to favor during our mission, and that determines who we're gonna fight. So I choose to help defend Gloria Terminal from Unchained Belt pirates. And this goes as most successful defense missions go. I sit in the corner and just shoot everyone who approaches. Defense missions are just kind of like that right now. With the mission accomplished, I grab up a bunch of loot and some meat. And after heading to Phobos and unlocking crafting, I whip up a mainstay of Magnum PMC, the sorbets. While they're in the oven, I send Francis to protect some Corewood equipment from Realware. Control missions are like defense missions, except you move to a different spot each wave. And with how weak most enemies are this early on, like defense missions, they're no trouble at all. I then take a mission to destroy a Planet Bridge comm center for Daydream. We get lucky the first floor, and the elevator down is found pretty much straight away. As you've seen, and I've mentioned, early on, enemies aren't all that dangerous, individually if you know what you're doing. Hell, most lower tier enemies, ordinary workers, don't even have guns or body armor. The real challenge is the fact it's just you versus all of them. Some trainee or millwright getting a skull fracture is nothing, they'll keel over from the damage soon enough, and that's just one of many down. But you getting a skull fracture means you get to suffer much worse accuracy, a chance to literally puke away your action, and a damage over time effect. As if that weren't bad enough, treated wounds do have a chance to reopen, especially if you get hit again. Thankfully, things aren't as bad as all that, and I'm able to eventually go down to the 3rd floor and blow up the satellite dishes, escaping with a hefty chunk of loot. Yes, we mess up our rep with Planet Bridge, but we didn't have any credit built up, so there's no worry. After that, I head over to Hypnos 2 to perform an assassination on behalf of Unchained Belt. I deploy with just an SMG and some basic gear, and soon find myself a shotgun, a rifle, and a helper, a servo backpack that gives me a 3rd weapon slot. Not every mission is so easy as to allow loadouts as barren as mine, but while I've got those missions, that's what I do. Everything goes about peachy until the last floor. I try to advance down a hallway swarming with enemies, dumb move, and things get dicey, but I'm able to patch myself up with numerous medical supplies that I've looted. I then blunder into a manager, another dumb move, get repeatedly shot for my mistake, and the injuries hurt my accuracy so much I can't even scratch her. And that's how Francis died. He did at least accomplish a few missions and rob a few people before that happened, so he wasn't a complete failure. Plus, we do have the bioprinter, so he'll be back in a few hours. Before he does, well, I threw a lot of names at you that I probably should explain. Once I've finished filing clone insurance, that is.